Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to this evening's programme. You are listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host, Asif Sabah, in the studio. And today we're going to talk about the Quran. And I'm going to kind of take it back to the beginning. Last week we spoke about the cave of Hira and, where Islam first started, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, first received his calling from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to become a prophet and deliver a message and bring forth the beautiful, amazing, glorious wisdom of the Quran. And so today we are going to talk about the Quran and its benefits in your life, so that you can learn and reconnect to its wisdom and understanding. Before we do that, we do give thanks and praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to come into your homes to bring you messages of hope, happiness, peace, love and well-being, and that we may remind you of the favours that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed on us all and to help us on our journey. As you know, this program is dedicated to exploring the spiritual and the symbolic language of the Quran. The Quran that I use is the Allama Abdullah Yusuf Ali translation from Arabic to English. And if what I quote does not match up exactly with the version of the Quran that you have, it may be that you have got a different edition. And the main features of these talks are about what it's like to be a spiritual person living in this physical world. And so as we talk about the Quran and just discuss it in general, I hope it gets you excited and makes you want to reconnect and read the Quran, or during Ramadan, if you were reading the Quran, you continue to read it and receive that divine wisdom and that divine message that is contained within the verses. And so the Quran is widely known as the holy book that is celebrated by Muslims from around the world. However, it is more than just a book of religious teachings. It serves as a guide for you on your journey through this world. And each person has a duty to apply its verses to their life so that they can become the best version of themselves. You could say that the Quran is a self-help book that helps you on your journey. And the Quran is especially helpful to those people who are seeking a deeper meaning to their existence, and especially those people who practice meditation or muraqabah that gives them that view of their inner self, and they're searching for that deeper meaning, that meaning that really they feel like they can really connect and become aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their life, because their awareness is a conscious connection. It's not about what's going on in the physical world, but there is a conscious realization that exists within those people who read the Quran and explore its wisdom. And this is what separates somebody from being an atheist and not believing to somebody who believes. and then depending even on your belief, do you pay enough attention and really seek out that divine wisdom so that it really helps you on your journey? And as you know, the Quran can be used as a book for personal growth and spiritual development. So what we're going to do is explore the different ways that the Quran can be more than just a holy book. Now, how I understand the Quran is this. The Quran is an ocean of great spiritual truths, and its verses are so multidimensional that they cover every experience as the soul makes its journey back to God. It explains simultaneously the material and the spiritual pathways we travel on. And as each person reads it, they take something from its verses and make it a part of their life's journey. And so that is how I look at the Quran, how I relate myself to the Quran. It is a book. It does take you on a very special journey, but allows you to not only peer into the depths of your own soul, but understand your life and the experiences that you are going through. But it also acts as a guide when you enter into certain situations or conditions around you. So it serves such a great purpose, and it gives you such amazing guidance that, you would be lost without its valuable insights and valuable information and to help you in your everyday life. And so, how does the Quran help you, say, in meditation or mindfulness? Well, one of the main ways the Quran can be of use for self-help is through meditation and mindfulness. So let me explain how meditation can help individuals to focus on the present moment and become more aware of their thoughts and their emotions. And this in turn can lead to a greater understanding of yourself and a more peaceful state of mind. Because don't forget, when you pass away from this world, you go to the hereafter, and your state of mind will depend on where you end up in the hereafter. Now, if you have worked on yourself, if you have read the Quran, and you have listened to that small voice within you that advises you, then you have opened yourself up to so much wisdom that wisdom will have an impact on you. And as you pay attention to that wisdom and the thoughts that are generated through reading the Quran within yourself, then that will automatically create a better version of yourself. And that will mean that when you arrive in the hereafter, you will end up in a better place than you were. And so this is why it's so important to read the Quran and try to live not by what other people believe in, but be true to yourself. There's no point in being true to what somebody else is saying, because that may not get you anywhere. But when you are true to yourself, it's because the verses of wisdom are having an impact on you. And you're recognizing that impact because it is allowing you to change. It's allowing you to become a much better person. And so this is where the Quran can help you on your journey. And as you begin to understand yourself in relation to the wisdom that you read within the verses of the Quran, this is where it acts as a guide to help you on your journey. And with these specific verses and prayers that are recommended for different purposes, such as reducing stress or increasing focus, this is where the mindful side, as you reflect upon the wisdom, it affects you, impacts you, and helps you on your journey. And this is the beauty. Sometimes we read the Quran, but we're not paying enough attention to what it is actually telling us or teaching us. And it's only when we start to really pay attention that we see or feel or become aware of the Quran's impact on ourselves. Because we don't just read big pieces and take everything there. We start to look at the Quran in smaller portions. Like, for example, what does the word inspiration mean to me is a question what you could ask. Because inspiration is a word that appears 45 times in the Quran. And as you break that down, you get to understand every time you read it what inspiration means to you. So that just that one word would have an impact on you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. You are listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host Asif Sabah in the studio, and today we're going to be talking about the Quran, hopefully to get you excited about reading the Quran and talking about some of the benefits of reading the Quran and how it can help you on your journey. Because your journey through life, there are many difficulties that you may face in life. And sometimes we need that extra wisdom to help us on our journey. Because if we don't have that wisdom, we'll never be able to really have anything that will counteract the negative self-talk that can arise within our minds when we run into these difficulties. And so one thing that is so important, and that is making affirmations. And you can use little bits of wisdom from the Quran as an affirmation or a zikr to help you on your journey, so that you're not overrun by this negative self-talk that can cause you to become lost to the life of the world, where you lose your way and you find it difficult to get past those thoughts that manifest within your mind. Because it isn't easy. Life is fraught with difficulties. When you compare it to the life of many of the animals that we see in life, their main goal is about just having something to eat, and there'll be a few other things in there as well. But as human beings, we have created such a complex lifestyle that many people become so disillusioned, and there's so many other thoughts that arise because of the complexities that we've created about our life. And we're all chasing this, we're chasing that, we're chasing so many different things because we've been told these are so important in our lives. But we're really, when we strip it down, there's only a couple of things that we actually need to survive. One is something like air. Of course, we need to be able to breathe, and food. I mean, those are the two very, very, very basics. And all this other stuff that we've created about how we should be and the complexities of the life that we're living, it's all created by ourselves. And because we live in a society that doesn't really care for others, then we've become kind of quite selfish in our outlook, and we put our own selves first instead of just learning to love and care for others in a way that doesn't create so much complexity. And I do believe it all comes from our selfishness, that we've created, and we attach ourselves to certain things or want certain things. Now, I'm not saying those wants are bad, but if we expressed a little more love, a little more care, and a little more understanding, and helped each other on the journey, then life wouldn't be so complex, and we wouldn't be thinking about ourselves in such a way that we do. And so one thing we can do as we travel our journey is to create a positive affirmation. And the Quran contains many, many verses that you can use like an affirmation or a zikr, and they can boost your self-confidence and your self-esteem. And while reciting these verses daily, you can reinforce positive beliefs about yourself, and they can counteract the negative self-talk that we give to ourselves, that we communicate to ourselves. And that is the hardest, one thing that is really hard in our lives. We become good at communicating with everybody else, external to ourselves. But when it comes down to communicating with ourselves, what we do is we fail so miserably. We forget to communicate with ourselves. We don't communicate with ourselves in a positive way. And I remember reading, or I read something earlier today, I think it was, about, and it was just explaining one little thing, and it was kind of talking about how we ourselves don't see ourselves in the way that other people see us. We always communicate with ourselves about ourselves in a negative way. But other people don't always see us in that light. And this is where, we need to learn how to deal with our own self-talk, especially when it's negative self-talk. Because I can assure you, I'm sure that other people don't see you in the same way. They will see you most probably totally in the opposite way to how you see yourself. And so by reading the Quran, you can take certain verses and use them to help you on your journey. And let me give you an example. For example, there's a verse that says, "On no soul doth God place a burden greater than it can bear. And that verse is Surah 2, verse 286. On no soul doth God place a burden greater than it can bear. That is the power of your ability. So you may think to yourself, you are going through a very, very difficult time. But you're going through a difficult time because of the thoughts in your mind. Take away those thoughts and the situation won't have such an impact on you. So it's the impact of the thoughts that you think. This is why you feel the way you do. And we do talk to ourselves, we communicate with ourselves in a much more negative way than we should be doing. And when you pay attention to the wisdom of the Quran, then this is when you start to take that wisdom and apply it to yourself. And then you use that wisdom to get you through situations that are occurring in your life. Because society puts all these pressures on us to be like this, to fit into this idea, to fit into that idea. But a lot of those ideas are man-made. And so that is the difficulty. You know, where we need to strive to connect with the wisdom of the Quran and listen to the wisdom of the Quran and take it on board and let it become a part of us, so that when situations arise within our lives, we can learn to deal with those situations because we have all this wisdom that we can, or if we don't have it, we can go to the Quran and find a verse that fits the situation, and that we can use that wisdom to get ourselves through it. And just like the Quran states, and it's a well-known verse, Surah 2, verse 286, where it says, on no soul doth God place a burden greater than it can bear. And that shows you that you have the strength of mind, if you so will, to use that wisdom, to use your inner strength to get through any situation. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never place a burden on you greater than you can bear. You may think that you can't bear it, but a little bit more digging, a little bit of soul searching, and you will see that you are much stronger than you even believed yourself to be. And when you look at yourself from that point of view, this is how other people see you. I mean, how many people out there have been going through a difficult situation, and then someone says, wow, I don't know how you got through that. Because they're seeing you not according to how you're seeing yourself, but they are seeing you from a totally different perspective. They see that inner strength that you're projecting, that they know what you're going through, but they see that, and they see how you are managing it. Now, okay, they may not know your thoughts, but the fact is you are most probably managing it better than what you think. But you're letting these harmful thoughts overpower you, overshadow you, stopping you. And it's only when you have a look inside the Quran, that you will see the amazing wisdom that it has to offer. And that wisdom will help you on your journey. And that wisdom you find in the verses of the Quran will transform you. Because when you arrive on the other side of the experience, and you're looking at the experience from behind, this is how you know you have the inner strength to get through anything. And it exists within you. And the little bit of magic you get from the Quran will help you on your journey. It will smooth out that journey so that you don't have as many negative thoughts piling up to block you and stop you from seeing beyond where you are. So the Quran is an amazing book. It's more than just a book. The Quran can be used, and its wisdom can be used as an affirmation or a zikr to remind yourself that you are capable of handling challenges, no matter what challenges they are. And when you look out at the world, everybody is going through some kind of difficulty. But they get through it, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. You are listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host Asif Sabah in the studio, talking about the Quran and its benefits to you in your everyday life. I mean, I have spoken about the Quran on numerous occasions. I did during Ramadan, but I wanted to do it again because it's the book that is so amazing. You know, you just can't put it into words. And I think sometimes we forget how amazing and how glorious the Quran is, and that it came down from the highest of heavens as a guide for all of humanity to help them on their journey through this world. And so far we've been talking about, well, how the Quran can help you, and also the Quran and mindfulness meditation, or muraqabah, which is the Islamic word for meditation. And then we were just talking about the Quran and positive affirmations or zikrs that will help you on your journey. And we looked at a verse from the Quran, which is Surah 2, verse 286, which says, "On no soul doth God place a burden greater than it can bear." And when you actually understand that in its full wisdom, you realize just how powerful that one verse is, and that it can help you to get through the situations and life itself, because you know that you are so much stronger than the harmful thoughts that can arise within your life, that can manifest within you, and that these thoughts that we have are usually self-generated. You know, we've created these thoughts, we feed these thoughts, and then they become so powerful within ourselves that they stop us from achieving our goals. They even harm us, because it's like we attack ourselves. We turn a good situation into something that isn't good. But everything that happens in our lives happens for a reason. And no matter what it is, it happens for the benefit of ourselves. And it's when we turn those thoughts against ourselves, that's when we fall into difficulties. And so we talked about how, God doesn't place any difficulty on us that we can't actually bear. And we are so much stronger than the thoughts that we manifest within ourselves and harm ourselves with. And so use that verse as an affirmation or a zikr to help you to get through some of the challenges that you will face in life. And also the Quran can be used as a guide for personal development. And when reading the Quran, it does emphasize the importance of self-reflection and self-improvement. And through reading and reflecting on the wisdom of the Quran, you are able to gain insights into your own strengths and weaknesses as you work towards your own personal growth. And the Quran also encourages you to seek knowledge, and also one more important thing, and that is to be open-minded. And this can lead to a greater understanding of the world and yourself. Because by being open-minded, you are letting go of the thoughts that are holding you back, holding you captive, and stopping you from achieving in your life, and even moving forward on your journey to personal growth and development. And you only have your own self to blame. If you hold yourself back, nobody else can take away those thoughts that are stopping you from moving forward. Only you can move forward yourself. And sometimes we do have to surrender and just let Allah take over the situation. And that is when we can step back from the situation and maybe look at it from a different point of view. Because nobody is going to fit exactly into your belief system. We are all individuals, and we are all here on our own spiritual journey. And it's up to us. If we go forward, then we become greater than we are. If we refuse to move forward on our journey, we only hold ourselves up and limit ourselves to whatever thoughts that we are thinking. But sometimes we have to really take a good look at some of the things that we believe in, because those beliefs have become our truth. And sometimes we don't always accept the best possible truth. And it's there where we are held back on our journey. And it does stop our own growth and development. And so, what can we do regarding some of the beliefs that we hold? Well, we can learn to look at them, but also realize that maybe those beliefs were created out of a negative emotional condition that we went through. But before we had time to really understand what we were going through, those beliefs all of a sudden became a part of what we believe to be the truth. But the truth is subject to change. And how and why? Because the truth changes with person to person. Your truth isn't somebody else's truth. And tomorrow you might learn something that takes away the truth that you previously learned yesterday. So what was true to you yesterday may not be true to you today. Why? Because you've seen something has changed you, something has given you a new perception, a new set of thoughts to hold on to open you up and take you forward on your journey. And this is what the Quran can do for you. It can open you up to the highest truth. But then again, what is the truth? If the truth can change as you grow, then that you've got to accept that sometimes the truth is subject to change, because you will change, just like other people change. And for the older generation, the person you aren't the same person as you were when you were 18 years old. Just like an 18-year-old won't be the same person that they are today. You look back on your life, ask that same question. What advice, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self? I'm sure you've got a lot of things that you would kind of tell that person and get them, to understand and maybe change at that time. We would all love to go back to being that 18 and taking all the things that we've learnt with us and sitting that 18-year-old person down and having a real good one-to-one with them. But that shows you have changed. You may not have recognized it as a change, but you have changed somewhere along the pathway for the better, because you have learned so much over your lifetime. And ask anybody, they will say, oh yeah, I would love to go back in time and sit that 18-year-old me down and have a real good talking with that person. And so the truth is subject to change. And we don't always see the truth, but we are here to learn the truth. And once we learn the truth, we can go forward on our journey, taking that which we have learned with us, and we hopefully evolve to become a better person. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. You are listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host Asif Sabah in the studio. And today we're talking about the Quran and the benefits that you can get from reading the Quran and how it can help you on your journey through this world. Now, another way the Quran can be used is for a self-help book, because your journey is your own journey and nobody else can make that journey for you. It is a journey that you are on. You have your own thoughts, your own ideas, your own beliefs, your own truths, even trust, and whatever it is that you believe in. All this is within you. And so nobody can make your journey for you. Life is about learning, and you have to learn for yourself. You can't learn, you can watch what's happening to other people and learn from their mistakes. But ultimately, it comes down to how perceptive you are and how you learn. And even I've seen people in life, they keep repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again. And it's like, you question sometimes, why didn't you just learn the first time? But instead they do it again and again and again. And sometimes for some people in life, it can take a lot of times. Not just, some people learn straight away. It happens to them once and they say, oh, I'm not going to do that again. And that's it. Lesson learned. But there are other people, it takes 10 times and then they eventually get it after the 10th time or 11th or 20th time. But you think, why does it take that so long? Why does it take them so long? And it's just one of those strange questions. Some people learn quicker than others. And so this is where the Quran can help you through whatever you are going through. And as it helps you, you will emotionally heal. It will suggest reciting specific verses and prayers to help alleviate whatever emotions that you are going through. Such emotions like anxiety or sadness. And so how does the Quran help you when you are going through situations like that? Well, there's a beautiful verse. In fact, there's a couple of verses that can help you. But the verse I'm thinking of is, for example, Surah 94, verse 5. And it says, "So verily, with every difficulty, there is relief." So there's a saying, you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so as we are going through life, as we are doing whatever it is we are doing, when we hit that difficult period in our lives, there is always light at the end of the situation. And so we've got the Quran saying in Surah 94 verse 5, "So verily, with every difficulty, there is relief." And then again, it repeats it just to make sure you haven't missed it. And it says it again in verse 6. So basically, the Quran is repeating in Surah 94, verse 5 and 6. It says exactly the same thing. "So verily, with every difficulty, there is ease." And the impact of any situation that happens in our life depends on the thought processes that we accept as true. Now, if we continually reject the wisdom and the truth that comes to us, then of course our foundation, our life will be built up on other thoughts and ideas. And as those thoughts and ideas build up within ourselves, what do you think happens? Well, that foundation becomes stronger within us. And when a situation occurs in our life, that which we have grown within ourselves rises, and the thought processes that are created from that foundation determine the effect that the situation has on you. So if you've taken the wisdom of the Quran and applied it in your life, you will have a different foundation within yourself. And when that situation arises, you will be drawing upon different thoughts, different ideas than somebody who has a different belief system and a different foundation. And so if you have allowed a lot of negativity to come into your life, then that is that is how you are used to thinking. And that is what you will automatically draw upon from within yourself And that foundation will dictate to you the situation that's happening. And you will live according to that foundation. And so the only way to get through a situation that's happening within you or around you is to change your foundation. Because that will change the way that you look at life in general. If you manifest loving thoughts and loving ideas within yourself, what happens? Within the loving thoughts that you manifest will be beautiful thoughts, beautiful feelings. And if you get used to reflecting and listening to those loving thoughts, then when situations arise within your life, those loving thoughts will automatically arise to the surface, and your perception of the whole event will be different from somebody who has allowed negative emotions to dominate their life and be the driving force behind what they feel, what they think. And so this is where the wisdom of the glorious Quran comes into your life and does its job. Its job is there to be a guide for you. And when you read the Quran, you will see what you need to see to help you on your journey and heal yourself within. This is all it's about, healing what is within yourself, transforming your darkness into light. This is why the Quran is here. And the glorious Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, brought the Quran into this world from the highest of heavens, because he listened to the angelic forces, the angels above. And Angel Gabriel came into the Prophet's life and narrated the wisdom of the Quran that was stored in the highest of heavens. And then the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, explained the wisdom to those around him. So again, the Quran, it's got so much value in your life. It's filled with such wisdom that it will transform your life, change everything, so that when you apply that foundation to your life, you will automatically be the best version of yourself at that point in time. Because the more you read the Quran, the more of its truth will stay with you, stay within you. And as you learn to pull from that pool of wisdom that you have within you, from little bits that you will remember here and there, that will help you through your situation. And that is when you start to understand and transform the old you into this new you. You start to transform the darkness within yourself into light. And we all have this darkness, but we are also all capable of making that transformation and change. But it's up to ourselves. And taking on these ideas, or taking on the wisdom of the Quran, say Surah 94 verse 5 and 6, where it says, "So verily, with every difficulty there is relief." And also, let's have a look at the other verse we used a little bit earlier, Surah 2 verse 286, that says, "On no soul doth God place a burden greater than it can bear. But if you have not applied positive wisdom to your life, and you have built your foundation on negative emotions, then that's what you will draw upon. And that's what you will become. That's the information you have stored within your soul that creates your outlook on life. And so, who's to blame? We only have ourselves to blame for the things that befall us in life. So this is where you can understand that the Quran is more than just a holy book. It can be used as a tool for self-help and personal growth. And through its wisdom, you can elevate your perception as you embark on a transformative journey. And as you make this journey, you will see that you have grown. The 18-year-old has changed and grown into an adult. And that adult will learn according to whatever it has planted within the garden of its soul. And this is where you come into it. You know what you have learned. You know yourself better than anybody. And you know what is within yourself. And only you can make those changes to yourself. Nobody's going to bring a magic wand and wave everything away, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says so. But you can learn through your experiences. And as you learn, you will grow and develop. And it's through these developments that take place within you that you will find your true purpose. But don't forget, the truth will change. Say for example, it can go either way. You can go backwards, you can stay where you are, or you can go forward. But it's all coming down to one thing. What do you accept as the truth? That is the question. Because if you accept something negative, then you'll go backwards, because you'll start opening the door to negativity. And if you don't cut that door and close it, it will continue to flood your mind. And you'll know this just by the way you think yourselves. If you look to make a positive change in your life, that is an amazing step forward. Because then you'll start to accept other truths, which will help you to build a new foundation within yourself. And as those new truths build up, you will change, you will grow, and you will develop. So this is what I mean when I say the truth within you will change. Of course we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's truth does not change, but your truth, because what you accept as the truth creates your outlook on life. It creates your outlook on life. And it will be subject to change until you learn. Somebody who refuses to learn, their outlook is different from yours. So allow the wisdom of the Quran to step into your life and let it help you on your journey. Don't wait until tomorrow or the day after or next year, make that change. Try your best. At least try to focus. You know, you might be going through a difficult period at this point in time, but be open for the opportunity to move forward, because it will show up in your life. You know, maybe tomorrow, maybe today you're feeling not as happy, but tomorrow you're feeling a little bit more happier. Well, that is an opportunity for you to push forward on your journey and step into a new change, step into a new light, a new conscious state of being. Because we're all here, we're all looking for that same peace of mind, that security, that understanding. And what better wisdom do we have than the Quran, that came down from the highest of heavens? Because the wisdom of the Quran is beyond where your consciousness exists. This is why it draws you up, it draws you out. And it's ever deepening, ever expansive. Because if the Quran, and the Quran even tells you this, if the Quran was in line with your desires, then the whole world will be corrupted. It tells you this. This is why the Quran comes down from the highest of heavens. And you have to strive to reach a higher understanding. It elevates you. It illuminates your mind so that you can see, so that you can aspire, so that you can become the best version of yourself. This is why the Quran is here, to help you on your journey, to bring out the best within you. And inshallah, it will do that. It will help you. It will show you the way. So search for the wisdom that you find within yourself, even if you just spend a little bit of time on your own in solitude. Take that time out to reflect and look at your own truth and the foundation on which you have built that truth. Is that truth a part of the Quranic truth within the wisdom of the verses? Or is it just something that you accept as the truth because it suits your fleeting desires? So look within yourself, strive to understand and make that conscious connection to the higher heavens. Because all life is about your conscious connection. That's what it's all about. If you connect to the lower levels of consciousness, then your outlook on life will be different. And if you strive to connect to the higher states of consciousness, there's a whole lot of different feelings that you entertain when you strive to connect to the greater states of conscious awareness. And that is shown in the Quran when it talks about the highest horizons within yourself. And the Quran that I use is the Allama Abdullah Yusuf Ali translation from Arabic to English. Because I find I want to know what the Quran is saying so that I can live my best life by its guidance. And this is why I read the translations of the Quran. Because I want to know what it is saying. I want that guidance in my life to get through some of the difficulties, even that I have been through. I'm not going to tell you what those difficulties are, but I'm human. We all go through difficulties. no matter who you are, everybody, every person you see walking down on the street, if you turn around and say, have you got any problems? They'll have a big list, like a shopping list. We all have certain things that are going on in our lives that are causing us concern. And the only way to deal with those is to apply wisdom. Where's the greatest wisdom? Well, it exists within the Quran, but it also exists within you. All you have to do is listen, and it will make its presence felt in your life. It will be your guide to help you on your journey back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.